Welcome to Between Two Asses. My name is Robyn, and I'm a therapist here in Houston, and I have 2 Sicilian donkeys. And so those are actually the asses involved here. It won't be me or my guest, although sometimes it might be me and my guest. We'll just have to wait and see. But today I feel certain it will not be me and the guest. My guest today is Sabrina Napier. She is from Houston Achievement Place, and she's going to talk to us about children learning appropriate social skills, Project Class. Welcome to the podcast, Sabrina.
Thank you, Robyn, and thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Sabrina, tell us a little bit about Houston Achievement Place, first of all.
Well, I certainly will be happy to do that. So many years ago, when I was a student trying to get my psychology degree from the University of Houston, and I was looking for a job because I was almost done, I go to the job board and I saw a sign and it says, "Help Orphan Kids." And I was like, wow, that sounds interesting. So I was introduced to Houston Achievement Place. I've been working with HAP for about 35 years. I started working at an emergency shelter, helping orphan kids, and I transitioned to foster care, had a lot of different positions there, and currently I work for Project Class. I go into schools. I help students work on their social skills. I encourage teachers to help students work on their social skills. Also, maybe encourage them to use their social skills with their students a little bit. And it's worked out great for me.
Okay, now, wow, go back. Tell me, what is an emergency shelter?
An emergency shelter is a place where kids go when they cannot stay in their homes anymore and they need a place immediately. Like, they are removed from their homes, they are driven to this place, and they are there until the court decides what's going to happen to them.
Okay, so they're in children's protective services.
Yes, children's protective services, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so what type of children would come there in terms of what kind of issues did you notice, and who? You weren't there by yourself, I guess, taking care of the kids.
No. The kids would come to the shelter because they could no longer stay in their homes. The homes were unsafe. Maybe they had been abused in any number of ways, physically, sexually. Maybe they had housing insecurity. Their homes may have not been suitable. They may have been abandoned by their parents. They just did not have a place to go, and they needed a place. And so they ended up in the emergency shelter.
Once they were there, now, were the children generally happy to be there?
Oh, no. No. Actually, let me tell you, they did not present as happy to be there, because that is something that's very frightening for children. Actually, at some point, maybe if they adjusted to the situation and they had a warm place to stay, food to eat, people who were treating them in like with decency, I would say, then it was an okay place for them to be. Now, of course, they longed for their families and their communities, what they knew, but there's something to be said about stability and safety.
Now, did they go to school as well at the emergency shelter, or did they go to school within the community surrounding that?
Well, at the shelter, there was a school on campus. And so they did not go to public schools because it was temporary. And so immediately they went to the school on campus. And it was K through 12th grade, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Now, what So you were just coming out of college.
Yes, just finishing college, actually. I was still in college, taking classes and working at this place. It was eye-opening. It was eye-opening.
Tell us about that. That must have been quite an introduction to the world of psychology.
Yes, it was. And I say working in that shelter, I worked with all personality types. I learned to handle like a lot of different issues, crisis, emotional. I learned a lot. I mean, it was a very good training ground. And I have this joke that I say nobody in my life had ever called me a bitch before I started working in the shelter. And these were kids who, like, okay, I never experienced that before. So it gave me a thick skin.
For sure.
Which I appreciate. Yeah.
And so then you moved into foster care, working with foster children.
And their families, yes. And foster families and their biological families, yes. That is what I did.
Okay, so the child would still then be in child protective custody.
Yes.
So having visits maybe with their biological families, but living within the safety of a foster family.
Yes.
And what was your job? Like, what did you do to help them navigate all that?
Oh, well, I had several jobs in Houston Achievement Place therapeutic foster care, but I like to concentrate, well, actually two. Case management I enjoyed because as a case manager, my job was to help the children in foster care maintain their placement. It was to help the foster parents navigate, working with children with emotional issues, who had a lack of social skills, and just trying to help them say, hey, do this, this would help. Don't do that. That's not going to help. And, also just helping the kids adjust to being outside of their, families, away from their families, outside of their communities.
So clearly, yes, if the child is functioning in the emergency shelter and then in a foster home, and they're having these massive outbursts or massive meltdowns or just emotional problems and calling adults bitches and all of the rest of it, you have to know that they have really been through some suffering in their life.
Yes, right? Absolutely.
Houston Achievement Place seemed to really come up with some wonderful ideas for how to help those children function better, but also the foster families to parent those kids better. Because this is just like normal parenting, this is 24 hours a day, 360 days a year. And these children have a lot of emotional instability and disability.
And let me ask you something. You said 360. So where are those other 5 days?
Oh, sorry.
I want to know myself, who are the parents who are getting 360 days? Because I want my days back.
Good point. Thank you for that. 365. Parenting is 24/7, 365 days a year. And even when you have, quote, healthy, loving, appreciative children, that is still a very difficult job. And in my opinion, one of the most important jobs on the planet. Because the children are the future of our planet. Children are the future of all of our resource management, and we need to invest as much time and energy as we need to make sure that they're healthy and they're loving and they're contributing members of society. So to me, good parenting is one of the most important tools that we can ever have in our tool belt. What I love about Houston Achievement Place and Project Class in particular is the focus on social skills training, because as a therapist, I see, a social skills deficit just grows up and becomes a different social problem, right? So in the classroom, it might look like this, but in a traffic jam, it might look like that. So tell us about social skills training. Tell us about, if you can, please tell us about the foster family model too, the teaching family model, the ways in which you sort of cut your teeth too, really, like you said, bringing these ideas, these concepts into very volatile families, trying their best, the kids and the foster parents. Tell us what that was like for you, and just, how helpful it was to bring those things into those homes.
Well, social skills, like addressing social skills deficits, it has made the biggest difference, like understanding that. It has made the biggest difference in my life, in my own parenting, in my own relationships. And when we really think about it, everything can be broken down to a social skill. What you do or what you don't do, your success or your lack of success, right? And honestly, I feel like I am fortunate enough that I really understand that. I see it. And so when I was introduced to all the social skills training with Houston Achievement Place, it clicked with me. Like I was a believer, right? And from day one, and I'm still a believer. So in the foster homes, when these foster parents were parenting children who were not born to them, who were basically strangers, I found that the most successful foster parents stuck to the model. They stuck to, this is what you're not doing. This is what you should do. It's not about your character. It's not about your personality. It is about this thing, right? And we can get to some other stuff, but we have to address these deficits first. It's not personal. It's just what you need to do. And the ones who were most successful, they did that. In the schools right now, I loved the thought of working with kids in their own families of origins, right? I was really excited about that because I thought, oh, wow, these kids, they have a leg up on the kids who have been removed from their homes because of all the reasons that we talked about. But what's so funny is that the kids that I see in the schools, they have the same sometimes issues at home, like not maybe to the degree that the kids who have been removed from their homes, but they have not learned. Their parents have not maybe taken the time to say, hey, Sally, if you don't get what you want, this is what you're supposed to do. I can tell you no, Sally, and this is what you're supposed. They have not taken that time. So then they bring it to school and it causes a problem for them in the classroom. It causes a problem for the other students. It causes a problem for the teacher. And then again, it causes a problem for their biological parents. So I don't know. I just think that everything, if we could address this social skill issue, we would, we'd be cooking with gas.
It's really true. I mean, I see such a bridge. There is such a bridge from poor social skills training, not being addressed, not being parented, really. Whether the parent turns out to be a biological parent teaching the child, hey, I noticed how you handled your friend when they were over here today. I saw their face get sad. I think you might have really hurt their feelings. Okay, let's think about how you could have done that differently. And just sitting, like you said, very neutral, just sitting down with them. I love you. I think you're wonderful and amazing. And I think we can tune that up a little bit where it would come across a lot better. You would get what you want and they would get what they want, right? But those deficits, of course, just grow up if we never address them.
That's